All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. I am so excited to kick off our CMX Masterclass today. So, welcome to How to Motivate Your Community Members. My name is Marsha, and I'm a Senior Program Manager here at CMX and Bevy. And before I introduce our incredible speaker today, just a quick overview of our agenda and some virtual event guidelines. So we're going to kick off today with a quick icebreaker in chat. I see a lot of you have already shared. And then we're going to get right into the masterclass. Today, we're going to be talking about the foundational basics for motivating your community. So that's going to include understanding what motivates someone to join and perform, what motivates someone to take part and volunteer in the first place, along with a lot of actionable tips and tricks for community managers to leverage all of this information. After that, we're going to dive into some live Q&A. So I really encourage everybody to get involved and really ask some tough questions. We have a Q&A tab where you'll be doing that, and we're going to leave about 10-15 minutes at the end and try to get through as many questions as possible. And then we're going to wrap things up at 10 a.m. Pacific. So we have an action-packed hour here with all of you today. So a quick icebreaker in chat. Would love to get to know the awesome folks that are tuning in today. So if you haven't done so already, please jump into the chat and share your company and role, something that motivates you, and your favorite emoji. While you do that, a few virtual event guidelines to help you get the most out of this event today. So number one, before anybody asks, I'm going to get ahead of this. The event is being recorded, and the recording is going to be provided after the event, and it's going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So don't worry about scribbling down a ton of notes. Really just try to be present here with us today. Please close any distracting applications. I know how tempting it might be to, try to get through your email or Slack on the side, but really to get the most out of this event, I would recommend closing anything that might be distracting you and really just try to be present. Let's keep the chat going. I'm loving the activity in it so far. Let's keep that going. Make sure to use the Q&A tab. It's just to the right of the chat where all of the chat is happening. And there you can ask any of your burning questions, and you can also upvote any of the questions that really resonate with you. And Bevy Virtual works best in Chrome. So if you're not using Chrome, I'd recommend maybe switching if you'd like. So I wanted to share our CMX community values. Some of you might be new to the CMX community here. So our three values are to be generous, to be groundbreaking, and to be actively inclusive. And our goals for this session today, really very simple. We want to help you all connect, to meet awesome community professionals, to learn from the session, to get at least one actionable thing which you can implement today, which I think you're going to have no trouble doing that with our awesome speaker here today. And we really want to be here all together to advocate and grow the community industry. And a little bit about Bevy. So right now you're on the Bevy platform, you're experiencing it. And at Bevy, we believe three things. We believe that community is the new competitive moat for modern brands. We believe that events are the best way to generate community, that events aren't the once in a year thing, but year round, and that the highest quality events aren't run by the brand, but they're run by the community. So hopefully that resonates, and that's four things. I'm pretty sure I said three. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce our incredible speaker for today. So everybody, please help me welcome Ilker Akansel. He is the community manager and a strategist at his own boutique community strategy firm. He is also the founder and co-host of CMX Connect Istanbul. Technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, and of course, communities are at the core of everything that he does. And he's been involved in a lot of great community programs at the likes of Google, Cisco, and the London Olympic Games. He's incredible. And without further ado, Ilker, welcome.
Hello, and I hope everybody, hears and sees me. It's 154 people. Good thing I've put a shirt on. So, really, really, I just feel, I just feel honored. I think it's one of the records of the masterclasses. So I really would like to wholeheartedly thank everyone who's actually stopping by, attending, and spending an hour of their time. So hopefully I will be able to make it worthwhile. So really, really excited, really, really psyched about this. I know it's a very popular thing. It's pretty much, the existence of all of us, to motivate people. So hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have taken a few things away that you can actually use in your own life or in your own profession as a community manager, managing communities everywhere. So really, really excited. And I'd like to thank you and CMX for allowing me to do this.
Awesome. So I'm just going to jump off screen. I'm going to come back when we do the Q&A. So yeah, I'll see everybody soon.
Fantastic. And hello and welcome again. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to be spending the words that you have probably really grown sick of, which is if you're going to be able to see my screen in a minute. So I will be just sharing it. These in the last couple of years. So hopefully everybody is able to see my screen. I know it's slightly small, but it's something that we tried to overcome. We didn't, but I'm going to try and see if I can make up with the energy that I'm going to be spending. So I will be in a different window. So please keep the comments coming, and definitely if there's anything that you would like to ask, put that in the Q&A tab. So welcome to this masterclass where I will be talking about how to motivate your community. And as Marcia said, I am a community strategy consultant based in Istanbul, Turkey, but I've been part of the CMX Connect ecosystem and CMX as a whole for the last couple of years. I founded the Istanbul chapter, and I am one of the co-hosts, basically. So, of course, speaking of Istanbul, I really wanted to, talk about myself less, but about the chapter more. So this is a shameless plug for the Istanbul chapter. I encourage you to join. Of course, the location is not really important anymore, where we have, a lot of people from all over the world basically joining our chapters and joining our events. It's me, Esra, Özge, and Ceren, the four of us, the four musketeers, so to speak. We we keep the Istanbul chapter going, and I put the menu link over there because it actually tells not only the official CMX Hub web address, but also our social media handles and social media addresses if you would like to follow that as well. So this is our chapter. We are immensely proud of it. We are from, of course, the only city that is straddling on two continents. So hopefully one day you'll be able to come here and meet us for real as well. So without further ado, it's something that we deal every day. So of course we have a few people from Canada, and I was talking to Barsha about this presentation yesterday. I guess this is pretty common, and I wanted to start with a couple of memes, as you do in many of the events these days. So some days it's hard to find motivation, and some days motivation really finds you. This can't be true for some days, and definitely this is just one of the things that we always think about, how we can increase and sustain our motivation. And certainly the same thing goes for the communities as well. So some more memes, as we would like to get ourselves acquainted with the concept. If you're not a runner, now you are. If you just see this, and sometimes metaphorically, these are the things that actually come to us as well, just like the pandemic or a few other things that we've been experiencing in the last few years. Anybody's old enough to remember the program Pimp My Ride from MTV, and this was the rapper Exhibit. It was the host, and this was one of the very first internet memes that went around. So if it's about motivation, so if you needed to be motivated, even if you're thinking you being motivated about motivation will get you motivated. We hopefully will not grow sick of the word motivation by the end of this presentation, but I'm going to try and see if I can keep it as light as possible on that front. So today, what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be talking about. So I tried really hard to make sure that it doesn't really sound like a lecture. And I used to be a university teacher as well. So, you know, that's always one of my Achilles heels. So hopefully it won't be. But we're going to be talking a little bit about motivation through the ages, some classic motivation theories, and something very interesting that I stumbled upon a few years ago called volunteer functions inventory, the VFI. We're going to try and see if we can apply some of the things that we've seen, some of the motivation theories into community, and some to-dos and not to-dos from my own personal experience as a community strategist. So the Act 1, the motivation through the ages. So I'm going to be taking you through a little trip in time. Not only, you know, the time itself, but also, you know, my own past, where I did my master's degree in Manchester, of all places, in the UK. And this is one of the reasons why I'm actually doing this talk to you, because the organizational theory and of course things like, you know, sort of workplace control, surveillance, and those sort of things, they were always fascinating things to me. And these are the things that I actually studied during my master's degree. And it turned out that Manchester was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. So we're talking about motivation, but we really cannot separate motivation from the evolution of the workplace, the evolution of let's say, the structure of an office, of an organization as we know it, because all the studies were, of course, done in tandem. So hopefully, by the time that we've gone through the history of this thing, you will have seen the touching points of the research that was done for the commercial, let's say, part of this this study with the community, which we're trying to tie up today. So going back to the Industrial Revolution, we're just nearing the turn of the century. The reason why it's very important to me is because Manchester has been the first industrial city in the world. As you can see, it's a beautiful place. It's so refreshing with all those, you know, chimneys and the beautiful weather that Manchester is always blessed. But, you know, aside from that, and the fact that obviously it doesn't have a beach, it's a beautiful place. And it was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, and it was, of course, the birthplace of you know, many things that actually spawned some of these theories that we are going to be talking about today. So motivation and the study of performance, so to speak, in organizations, in communities, in locations is not something new. It's actually, you know, pretty much in tandem with the first days of the Industrial Revolution. This is again the UK, the beautiful north near Bradford in West Yorkshire. Titus Salt is an entrepreneur of sorts at the time, and he founded this this village called Saltaire, where he completely constructed this place around this big mill, and all the houses, you know, all the ancillary services pertaining to this town, they were all connected towards achievement of better performance at this mill. So imagine just waking up, this whole place is completely designed for performance, for motivation at work, so to speak. You're just waking up and all you see is this huge mill and a few other places like, you know, the refectories, the church, and all sorts of other things. And it was one of the model villages where everything was self-contained and everything was geared towards the motivation of this organization, the achievement of you know, commercial success in this village, so to speak. So the north of the UK is littered with these sort of examples. So let's go to the other side of the world, and Manchester has a really interesting connection with America. So let's see if anyone in the comments is able to to tell the nickname of Manchester. It ends with the word opolis, like, like metropolis. It's not metropolis, but let's see if someone can find out, and they can find out why it was the case. So let's go over the Atlantic, and one of the first American management consultants, called Frederick Winslow Taylor, is one of the very first people who started the study of scientific management and motivation in workplace, and basically the things that would affect how you can the things that would affect performance in workplace. So basically, he just came up with some principles called scientific management, which, very interestingly, even after 100 years, many of which we can actually still feel and we can see practiced today. So he did say that in order to achieve excellence at work, excellence in performance, the jobs had to be broken into a series of small related tasks and develop a standard time for each task so that they could be perfected. So the systematic methods must have been employed to select workers and train them for specific jobs, and establishing a clear division of responsibility between management and workers, where management sets goals, plans, and supervision, and the workers execute the required tasks. So as you can see, there isn't really much, into let's say the intrinsic motivations, so to speak, of the workers. So the workers are there for just like robots. And funnily enough, many years after, when technology actually improved and the automation actually set in industries, many of these principles became obsolete, and it became evident that there were other things that motivated people in organizations. So, but this was the basis, and it actually affected a lot of people. So we know this gentleman, of course, for the cars that he's produced, and just being such a big figure of an industry. But he also founded an approach called Fordism. So he was very inspired by, go figure how you can get inspired by something like this. But he was inspired by the abattoirs where people were killing chickens in order to come up with the assembly lines where the cars were being, produced. So he actually standardized the products. And as we all know, the Model T was just available in just one model, one color. As long as, you just wanted it in that way, you could actually have that product. So that came with some principles. And the funny thing about it is that, you have the standardization of the products and the assembly lines being employed, but to motivate the workers, he stipulated that he was going to be paying just enough money so that the workers can actually pay to buy the product that they're actually producing, which is very, very interesting in terms of an approach to motivation in the workplace. Moving swiftly on, of course, we're just being very superficial in these, but I always thought that these were very interesting in understanding the organizations that we're in these days. And then we just go into the classic motivation theories in management. And it just turned out that, Taylorism and Fordism, they were never, ever enough in understanding the motivation in an organization, be it a commercial organization or a volunteer organization, which we will come to. We'll be just talking a little bit more about Abraham Maslow, which we'll know probably. And of course, Elton Mayer's human relations movement, where we're going to be talking about, things that were discussed by Hertzberg, McGregor, Vroom, and McClellan. So let's go this way. So let's see if anybody knows this or remembers this. So this is some electric works, Hawthorne Electric Works outside Chicago. So in the 1930s, Elton Mayer, who's a very renowned Taylorist, he was conducting some studies about worker motivation, and he was quite convinced that it was about the physical characteristics of the workplace, such as light or the heat or things like that, that actually affected the performance of the workers. And then he just set out to do some experiments. And what he did was he and his team, they decided to investigate the effect of light inside the factory on the performance, on the production. So they increased the amount of light, and then they measured the performance, they measured the production, and it increased. And then in order to obviously, to formulate the hypothesis, they were expecting when the light was decreased, the performance would also decrease as well. And it turned out that when they decreased, the light in the shop floor, the performance increased again, which was really, really confusing and really, really crazy. And it just turned out that this was the basis of what we would call the Hawthorne effect, which is when you figure out when you find out that someone is measuring your performance artificially increases or is artificially affected. So it certainly is not the physical let's say, conditions, but it's more like, communication between people, and of course, more clarity from supervisors, from management, that actually affected the performance well. So this was very very interesting, and one of the, of course, shortcomings of the Taylorist approach. And this again formed the basis of the modern thoughts of motivation, the modern theories of motivation. So Maslow was, one of the direct descendants of, let's say, the approach of Elton, and this is something that we all know. This is pretty famous. The hierarchy of needs. So Maslow was an American academician and professor, and he just came out with these, there's something really, really funny about Maslow and this triangle, is that Maslow never drove a triangle. So this was done afterwards. But as many of us know, this is all about, just satisfying the needs and the hierarchy of needs. So someone would like to be psychologically safe and their needs met first. And then basically belongingness, where most of the community work that we're doing and is connected to, and then self-esteem and self-actualization following suit. So those are the needs that need to be fulfilled in the hierarchical order for someone to be able to have all their needs satisfied and get motivated to do anything. So this, of course, is the basis of many, many different works, and it's, of course, basis of many interesting memes that are coming around these days. Of course, it's 2022, and the hierarchy of needs needs to be revisited, of course. So in the bottom line, we have Wi-Fi, battery, and probably in a few years, God knows what's going to be coming in. So this is fun, interesting. So Frederick Hertzberg is another psychologist who, in the 60s, wanted to think and discuss about discuss motivation, and he just came out with something very interesting. So this is a slide with animation, so hopefully you'll be able to see it works as intended, if you like. So he just came up with the two-factor theory, where one set of factors are called the hygiene factors. So, of course, it's nothing related with hygiene, like as in pandemic hygiene or physical hygiene or anything like that. He just came up with a set of factors where he said that these hygiene factors must exist in a workplace, such as a good salary, some decent working conditions. Of course, the capabilities of the physical workspace must adhere to the requirements of the job. Relationship with colleagues and supervisor, they have to be in a certain way, and the supervisor has to be of quality, so to speak, and the policies and rules should be there. So these hygiene factors, the absence of these hygiene factors would 100% guaranteed demotivate the worker or the member of the organization. But there was something very interesting in this study, that the presence of these factors didn't necessarily motivate the member of the organization or the worker. Those were called the satisfiers or the motivating factors. Things like performance and achievement, recognition, job status, responsibility, and opportunities for advancement and personal growth, and of course, the work itself. And the statement was, the poor hygiene factors decrease job satisfaction, but the motivating factors are the ones that actually increase the job satisfaction. So this is something interesting, and hopefully, when you look back in your life or the things that you do, it might actually become apparent that it is so, in the sense that, of course, you would expect a good salary, some good working conditions, but they're not 100% guarantee that you will be motivated in the workplace. And perhaps it's so in the communities, which we will find out in a moment. So this is another one. This is Douglas McGregor. So he's a management professor at MIT. He just came up with a different theory in the 50s and the 60s. So he just had these sort of hypothetical managers called the X manager and the Y manager. Of course, telling this theory in massive simplification, but it's it's quite impactful as it is anyway. So the theory X, the X manager, thinks that the people need close supervision. They avoid work when possible. They avoid responsibility. They only desire money, and they must be pushed to perform. So didn't trust the worker at all. And this manager X always said that the worker or the organization member is always satisfied by pay or by interest and things like that. But the theory Y is a different person, is a different sort of organizational leader. The theory Y person thinks that people want independence at work, they seek responsibility, they're motivated by self-fulfillment, naturally won't work, and they will drive themselves to perform. So I wonder which one would you really, really like, or would you like to work for? So I have made my choice, and I presume that many of you have as well. But the reality is that we are still seeing the person X here and there, and
so I think Ilker is having some trouble with his internet. We're just going to give him a few minutes to refresh and come back on. So yeah, while Ilker comes back on, I did want to share about our CMX Summit 2022. So it's going to be happening on September 13th to the 15th. It's going to be an in-person and hybrid event, so we're stoked about that, happening in Silicon Valley, with a whole virtual component as well. And our theme for this year is Thrive. Last year, our theme was Rise. And last year we felt like the community industry was rising. Now we're like, we've totally arrived and we're thriving now. So we want to celebrate that with all of you. So really hope to see folks there. I'm going to share the registration link in the chat right now. And if anybody has any questions about it, I'm happy to answer.
Can you hear and see me now?
Yeah, we're good. What happened? The internet or battery?
Yeah, I'm on the 3G, so there was some problem with the internet. So everybody okay now?
Okay.
So Marcia, can you hear and see? Okay.
Yeah, we're good. I'm going to jump off as well, but I'll be here in the background. And then if you see that your internet is struggling, again, maybe try turning off your video. But for now, you're good.
Fantastic. I'm on 3G, so hopefully, or 4G, put it that way. So hopefully. And so I'm going to obviously, go a little bit quicker now so that we can still have. X and Y is Mr. Douglas McGregor. He's American professor at MIT. So there's these two people, two types of managers. So the manager X thinks that people need close supervision, avoid work when possible, avoid responsibility. They only desire money, must be pushed to perform. And the Y type manager is the person who believes that people want independence at work, seek responsibility, motivated by self-fulfillment, naturally won't work and will drive themselves to perform. So McGregor thought that there were these two types of management, these two management types, and certainly they would have, different types of, effects on the worker motivation. So as I was saying last time around, did we really evolve from X to Y? We probably have not, because we have something called bossware these days, now that everybody's remote working. And certainly we're asked to install some, some software in our computers where the companies, many companies anyway, unfortunately, they don't trust us and they check up on whether we're working or not. So we haven't really moved from the type X to type Y, even though this research was done many, many years ago. So this is where we probably lost each other. So I was just saying last time around that Victor Vroom is one of my research respect, because I absolutely love him as a car enthusiast.
I'm not really that in a position. My surname
is very interesting. Anybody speaking Turkish actually can tell you more about that. But Vroom is just a great surname to have. But of course, his contribution into management theory is what we're actually here for. And he had a go at explaining motivation by an expectancy theory. So he just thought that there are three components. There's the effort, there's the performance, and there's the reward. So the effort is, can I hit the performance outcome if I work hard? So can I actually do this? Can I actually achieve this? So anybody being motivated to do anything thinks in these three components. This is what he said, if in effect. So the instrumentality, the performance, I can do this, I get this. Will this lead to rewards? Is there anything for me?
And the balance, which is the reward, which is the perceived value of the reward.
So is this reward anything of interest to me? So if I actually do this, achieve what I want to achieve by doing what's needed to be done, which I can do I find the reward valuable or desirable? So this was, the thing. This was the structure through which he wanted to explain motivation. So I also love this, David McClelland. Another psychologist. This is the three needs theory. It's referred in different ways. He said that there are three facets to someone's motivation, someone's work, so to speak, or the need to do anything. So there's the need for achievement. And there's a need for power. So the need for achievement is control, influencing others, of course, wishing to win arguments, enjoying competition and winning, recognize, and the status. Those are the things that you probably
have guessed in your communities, whether this sort of feeling or the need prevails or not. So
the affiliation is the backbone of our community work, which is the belonging to a group, wanting to be liked, preferring collaboration over competition, and less of a risk and uncertainty appetite, and the need for power. The power is to overcome something challenging, taking calculated risks, and liking to receive feedback on progress and achievements. And of course, with many people that I have seen in the communities, liking to work alone so that they can actually achieve things by themselves. So welcome to the Act 2. So apologies for the brief intermission due to technological issues, but we come to the volunteer functions inventory, which is another way of, let's say, stab taken into understanding and explaining motivation, so to speak. This was something that I completely, came across by accident. This was by two scientists, Claire and Snyder, first explained in 1991, of course, went through the motions. Now, of course, there's a lot of things added to it, but it was actually a framework to assess the motivations driving volunteers. It was a questionnaire-based technique, and he had some assumptions. So the technique assumed that people are purposeful, planful, goal-directed, and that different people may do similar things for different reasons. Think of the communities, think of the volunteers that you're actually dealing with on a daily basis. Any one individual may be motivated by more than one need or goal, which is really, really important, something we sort of, omit. And outcomes depend on the matching needs and goals of the opportunities afforded by the environment. So those are some of the assumptions. Let's go into this. It's really simple, really powerful. So Claire and Snyder thought that there are 6 motivations for volunteering, not just one. It could be a combination, but these are the main, sort of 6 motivations, main functions, so to speak. So people volunteer because of values, which is expressing and acting on important values, saving the world, or some social situation, such as humanitarianism and helping those less fortunate. Or they could be about so seeking to learn about the world and to exercise skills that are often unused. So just doing something that has not been done for a long time. So just getting proficient with that one. Enhancement. So it's basically personal development, seeking to grow and develop psychologically through involvement in volunteering. Career, which is something we see day in, day out. It's about goal of gaining career-related experience through volunteering. Social, just to make friends, allowing the person to strengthen one's social relationships. And protective, which is very interesting. So it's out of guilt, out of perhaps negative feelings, to address personal problems. So you may have gone through a guilty period, a trauma, and just to make yourself feeling better, you're actually volunteering. It doesn't have to be something terrible, but for example, for me, I can say that I like to work with, especially with people who are just sort of graduating now, because I had a degree, I received a degree in management information systems in Turkey over 20 years ago, and I was one of the first people to do so. So I had no one to ask. I made all sorts of interesting mistakes in my career, and halfway through my career up to today, I did say to myself, if I ever survive and come to this age and experience level, I will certainly volunteer my time, just give away my time to younger people and tell them about my experience so that they don't have to go through this crazy situation again. So it doesn't have to be something terrible. So, but it certainly explains, the VFI explains why I did volunteer in many of the occasions at the time and still do. So Act 3. So let's see if we can start hitting it home. So let's apply the theories to community management. Of course, these are sort of my thoughts and my applications. So you're, of course, more than welcome to apply yours. So let's start with some assumptions on community member motivation. So this is my observation. Community members may not know what really motivates them. Sometimes they have no idea. They really can't put into words, or they do not wish to divulge for a number of reasons. They don't have to. This is, let's go back to our reference to Henry Ford. If I asked customers what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, when he, of course, invented the first, commercially produced car, which was the Model T. Again, this is highly personal opinion. Do not rely on surveys and NPS work as the sole technique. People do to understand the health of a community. I'm not a fan of surveys. I'm just saying this with the lightest way possible to you. People don't like them, and I know that other people that don't. And response rates are low and deceptive. Treat statistics as friend and foe. When I was teaching at university, there was a survey about the courses, and I became the second out of the university of the best course and best teacher. And I don't want to boast. It wasn't because of that. I didn't even know about the survey, but it turned out that the number one course was received that spot because there were fewer people who answered with higher marks, whereas 80% of people who took my course actually answered the survey. And just because the few people who answered the other courses survey were higher the marks, that actually got the first spot. So I think it's a little bit deceptive. So it's important that for you to know and to see this of a community, let's say, health survey, so to speak, in that respect. And community motivations are set to change. This is something we omit very, very, very quickly. We don't see communities as things things that are evolving. Sometimes we get stuck in the past, as in the values that were there when the community actually started, or some other time, some other point back in time. But they change, people graduate, people just do different things, leave community, come back, they evolve, they just do other things, they start thinking differently. So this is something that you have to consider when you're actually evaluating community member motivation and your strategies around it. So let's go. The roles of the community managers and motivators, something very, very quickly. So the 3 roles I have identified. You are to create a no-pressure, comfortable environment in which members can engage the community in discussions and whether the concept fits their motivational needs. and you are to create and maintain an implicitly curated environment, something that is sort of ready for them, where members can explore their motivations further by attending events and keep track of the changing motivations of the community members as they and the community evolve. So these are the three roles that I believe are fundamental, are essential for community managers to be a good motivator. So again, just to prepare, let's say, the community for the community member so that they can actually discover themselves, their motivations, and they're able to communicate that to fellow members and the motivation and the community manager as well. So why not bring the theories into the community management in my own particular way? So this is from localist.com, which is really, really cool. So there's the community hierarchy of needs. I know it's too small in your screen, but I'll just read just the headings for you. So at the bottom, you have a discussion board. On top of it, you have community on projects, some small community events, and large brand-oriented events. So this is just one interpretation of the hierarchy of needs, some different events and different outlets for the community to satisfy different needs of people. And this is something that you can design within in accordance with the triangle, which Maslow never ever designed. Something a little bit better, a little bit more, down to earth. You remember the two-factor theory? You have the dissatisfiers and the satisfiers. So why not just move them into the community domain? So some dissatisfy, some hygiene factors, without rewards, without contribution conditions, cost reimbursement. Imagine the community members having to pay out of their own pocket for staging the events. Or relationship with other members not being up to par, or the relationship with the community manager not existing, and the quality of supervisor or or manager, so to speak, or the community lead, the organizer, so to speak, not there, and the community guidelines, of course, being not there as well. So those would be the essential kits for a community to thrive. Absence of these would actually break a community for sure. But the motivating factors, if you have actually seen, I haven't actually changed them much. Performance, achievement, recognition, status, responsibility, advancement, personal growth, the experience itself. So as community managers, we're there to provide an experience for the community members. There's nothing else actually we're actually providing for them. And we have to have the right environment experience to take place. So this is my interpretation of the two-factor theory. How about the X and Y? So on the theory X, community members need close supervision. They're not really interested in contributing. They're only interested when they're, for lack of a better expression, probed a little bit by the community team. Come on, just do something, that sort of thing, which is really, really wrong. They avoid responsibility. They're just, they're volunteers. They're just fickle. They'll just disappear every day. They only desire status. They just want to look like they're a member of a community, but they're not really, they're not really that valued. And they must be pushed to perform. Of course, that sort of approach is just not good for any community. Whereas, you would like to be a theory Y community manager, hopefully, where community members want independence whilst contributing. So you just get living daylights out of their way contribute, and you're not really just making it difficult for them. Seek responsibility. They're motivated by self-fulfillment. They naturally want to contribute, and they will drive themselves to perform. So just give them that opportunity to do so. What about the expectancy theory? So this is basically the same. So can I hit the performance outcome if I work hard for the community event? And of course, within the performance outcome lead to rewards. So are those rewards anything that I really, really want? So certainly this remains unchanged. You really need to make sure that the rewards are there for the community members to attain, and those rewards are interesting for them. And the three needs theory, which turned out to be really well when I interpreted it. So achievement, affiliation, power, these are the things that we see in communities day in, day out. So why not, as a community manager, provide opportunities to lead, influence chapters, initiatives, organize recognition and approval processes and opportunities and rituals for these people for achievement. Affiliation, of course, it's the backbone of the community. identity, which the community members would be associated with, provide collaboration opportunities and on the need for power, provide challenging personal and group opportunities, create regular communication and feedback channels, something we sort of miss, and provide both group and individual impact opportunities. So those would satisfy the three needs theories approach, so to speak. So again, go on and on, you can just expand this, but this is just a quick interpretation of this theory for me. And what about the jewel in the box of jewels, the community volunteer functions inventory? So of course, this is something that I really value highly. The values, understanding, career, social, and protective. You really need to speak to the community members. You really need to find out different tools and through different methods which functions pertain to the actual communities or the community members. It could be more than one, by the way. So the community members would like to join and engage in accordance with the values. Of course, there's a value that they regard highly, especially if this is a community of action. You remember the types of the communities. So the understanding the new concepts, world aware through the membership of the community is something that they would like to do as well. How about some personal growth? So it could be enhancement. Career is something that's, especially in this day and age, is very, very important. Finding jobs and career-related advantage through membership of the community, very valid, very common, and it needs to be identified straight away. And the social, of course, it's the backbone of many communities these days, especially. And the protective one, again, this is the sort of a stealthy, hidden function. And if people are addressing personal problems or something that they saw missing, just like in my own, background, like to just to satisfy that to be unearthed as well.
How are we going to do that? So the final act, as we're hitting it home,
motivation tips and recommendations. So some do's and don'ts before I leave you. Again, my personal experience this. So why not arrange the community platform channels in accordance with the possible motives, with the possible functions? So just have a general approach, as in outlets for various functions, such as the careers, events, professional developments. Watch those channels and kill the ones that are not really being popular, and of course amplify the ones that are being popular. That actually tells you the overarching motivation in the community. That's just one method you can deploy. Select community representatives to relay anonymous feedback, something that we were doing at Google Communities. I used to be Google Community Manager back then, as Marsha briefly mentioned. And this was something very important, because there are times that the community members are a little bit hesitant about telling what their real motivations are, or what their real feelings are, or the concerns are about the community. So don't rely on anonymous forms or emails. People don't like them, and many of them know that at the end of the day, they may actually become non-anonymous, or they just don't care. They just brush it under the carpet. And this is something that I see highly personal. Remove yourself from discussions and provide for community members to interact. I see so many community managers being on, WhatsApp channels, Telegram channels, or whatever platform they're actually being used, but their presence is actually making the community members uneasy. So they'll actually be constructing a back channel anyway. So why not just remove yourself and get these people to interact and be able to tell what they really, really think about certain things in a safe way. This is really funny, because it is true. They know that in a community event, you're the only one paid to be in the room, which is something that we sort of tend not to realize. And some don'ts, of course. This is the way we're going to be finishing up. Don't push the community team agenda on KPIs on the members. This is the biggest problem, the biggest error. This is mortal combat fatality on communities. So it's the most common error. So imagine pressurizing community into just doing events because your manager actually wants you to. So just don't do it. Just basically at all costs avoid reflecting the heat of your performance requirements onto community. You will lose them. Don't force icebreakers or on otherwise on events. Don't force them to speak. Don't force them to introduce. It's even if you do, just don't try and do on a face-to-face arrangement. Something like would be good. Just make it optional for them. Motivating for motivation is a concept that I came across. Being from a Mediterranean country, I always come across this. When you're let's say you want to put the dishes in the dishwasher, and you're told by the household, why don't you put your dishes in the dishwasher? So basically, that's motivating for motivation. Just people are trying to motivate you for something that you're going to be doing anyway. Trying to identify this sort of community manager disease right on the outset, and make sure that you can actually read the signals from the community members that they're about to do something that you want them to do anyway, engagement-wise and motivation-wise. So and basically get out of their way when they're actually doing it. Just make it easy for them. And finally, don't favoritize members and provide substantial awards. This will activate Richard Millington's engagement trap, which means that obviously if you're actually giving people, let's say you're giving people some, I don't know, a mobile phone, laptop, something of great value, then people will try to just do things that are slightly untoward, really not representative of the motivation level of the community to obtain that. And then you will have your engagement, but that will be non-representative, and it wouldn't be a really good indicator of the health of the community. And then will turn the community into Mos Eisley Cantina, which we see many Web3 and NFT communities just turning into that, because there's some big commercial stakes being part of that community. Engaging, basically, where people, unfortunately, community members turning into somewhat mercenaries. Not all of them, but this is a big problem that we're discussing from day to day. About to finish, speaking of Star Wars, probably you're groaning in front of your screen now. Oh no, not another Star Wars nerding alert. The Force, Luke, Force will be with you always. But this is something that I actually came across on Sunday as I was getting prepared for this masterclass. I found out through Chris Taylor, who wrote How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, the original screenplay, the earliest screenplay before it was finally edited in 1977 for the first movie. This sentence was, "The force of others will be with you always." So Star Wars was always intended for communities and community managers, because the force of others, which is the other community members, so to speak, the force that they actually put in you, all the good feelings and all the motivation, is actually going to be with you as community managers always. So on that, positive notes, so to speak, my dear Jedi community managers members, this is me. This is CMX Istanbul. So that's my handle on social media if you would like to continue the conversation. I shall stop my screen now, and then to speak to you and answer your questions.
Amazing. I love that ending. I love Star Wars. So that was such a great reference, and love all the actionable tips there at the end. I'm sure folks agree with me in the chat. That was awesome. So thank you so much for that impactful presentation. So yeah, we have a lot of questions, and we have about 5 minutes to get through them. So let's try to get through as many as possible, and let's do kind of a rapid fire, and then I think we can keep the conversation going in Slack in our CMX community. Okay, let's see where to start. Okay, great question here from Arlen. Would you ask community members what they think motivates them, or just offer them the 6 motivations list, or just assume that all of them apply at some point?
Well, to be honest with you, just asking for motivational, asking what motivates them, it's always difficult. I just regard it to, the sort of sales technique where, in the 2000s, when I was living in the UK, I went to a store and I was just browsing, basically just looking at some TVs or whatever it was, some electronic store it was. And just right at the exit, there was this person from the store saying, "Is there a reason why you didn't buy today. And I just always thought that this was a bit pushy. So asking people what motivates them, I think it will actually provide that that sort of effect on them. So to be honest with you, it's much better and much easier for to prepare the environment in which they can actually open up and they can actually show you what motivates them. So it's all about, you know, people selecting to be part of a subgroup, of a channel, of a discussion, so to speak. And that's the only way that you can actually find out. And also try and see if you can get to know these people. Of course, if it's a large community, there's no way you can actually know thousands and thousands of people. But I've been told, you know, over and over again that in the communities that I was the manager of, people sort of knew that I actually they were actually doing, whether they were about to graduate, what sort of work that they were looking for in the future. So these are important things. These people are human beings going through a journey. The more you know about the journey, the more you can arrange the community in such a way that they can actually bring value out of it.
Awesome, great answer. I see another highly upvoted question from Laura. We have a new community, but not a lot of participation. How do you drive the community members to engage without participating in the discussions as a community managers? What pro tips do you have for getting started?
Well, it's sort of easy-ish in the sense that there are some power members in the community. It's all about the community, and it's all about the ownership. So you're not alone on that context. So people want to have a community, a vibrant community through which value is being provided. So you're there to facilitate, so to speak. So basically, just get a few people together who feel really strongly about the community, and try and see if we can form a team of sorts, so that you're not really there to completely oversee or completely overwhelm the process. But there are a lot of times where you have to ignite the first spark, and you need to ignite the correct spark, so to speak. So that's the reason why you need to know the community members, so you're actually able to come up with the right event, with the right channel, with the right first discussion with the first opener. So the more you know about the community, the more, let's say, appropriate that start will be.
Great. Another very upvoted question from Faye. How does avoiding favoritizing members fit in with extrinsic awards like badges and XP points?
Simple in the sense that the community must be the fairest place of all places. So the community manager has a very difficult job. So the community manager has to be as fair as possible. So because community is a very, very intelligent and very savvy organization, or a living thing, they will figure out that you're actually favoritizing people. And as long as you have set rules, and certainly a process through which everyone can participate, and it is it is equal for everyone, for them to earn badges or earn rewards or earn recognition, then people will be okay. And in order to do that, your guidelines and your processes through which the badges and all the other rewards are being obtained must be crystal clear and communicated right in the beginning. So this is really, really important. Once you do that, then if there is a discussion, you can always point out to that.
Awesome. Okay, I see two great questions here about gamification. So let's see, Ilkin just asked to talk about it briefly, and then Allison asks, how do modern theories like BJ Fogg's fit into community work? I think it's often an argument for gamification. What else might this look like?
Can you? I've only got like part of the question. I tried to figure it out in my head. So can you read it again?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, maybe if you could just speak briefly around your thoughts around gamification and community.
Okay, definitely. So some gamification and I mean, gamification is a technique that we really would like to use in the community. The only problem is sometimes it's overused. So what is important for gamification is, again, I would like to draw attention to the previous answer that I have actually provided, in the sense that the gamification must be used sparingly, in my opinion, especially if it's a professional community or a community where gamification may not be that popular. Then it must be used in moderation. But in a community which is frequented by, let's say, by younger people, where they're more interested into that kind of engagement, that could be deployed in a much better way. And it's also important that in that respect, it's also important to employ people who are proficient in the sort of gamification that that particular community would be interested in. So let's say if it's a developer community, let's say if it's a community of students, just get some people from the community who would be interested in providing you input so that you can create the right environment for the right gamification structure to flourish. Sometimes the biggest problem that we actually see is the inappropriate structure, inappropriate use of gamification on that context. So definitely that's something that needs to be provided in the right way. And especially in the newer communities, we are seeing all these sort of Web3 and NFT communities and platforms such as Discord. We are actually seeing this becoming a major part of the community and an expectation as well. So again, in line with everything that we've discussed today, it's important to gauge the right level of expectation of this sort of let's say injection of gamification in the community, and then this needs to be deployed accordingly.
Awesome. Great answer. And yeah, there's so much to it. There's so many interesting things about gamification. Awesome. Well, we're at time. I think we could keep this going for probably another hour. There's so many great questions here, but I do want to be respectful of time, so we'll end it there at that question. And let's keep the conversation going in our Slack. So Ilker, thank you again so much for being here today and for sharing your knowledge with us. This was super impactful and actionable. I've learned a ton. I'm going to share the link to the CMX community. I see folks are asking, so just give me a second there and I'll share it. But let's give a huge round of applause to Ilker. Let's throw your favorite emoji, fire, heart emoji, applause. And yeah, I'll share that link right now. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you. And folks, I just posted that link in the chat. So definitely get involved in the community. Say hi to me. Say hi to Ilker. And yeah, we'll see you in there. Bye.